friends. Eric Andreas, your guitar sage here. How the heck are you doing? We're going to have a blast today, friends. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to improvise, how to jam over the top of a blues track or a looper. Okay. Now we're gonna have a blast in this today. Let me tell you how we're gonna do this. Essentially, just now I was playing a jam track. You guys might have heard me play that one before in a live bit. It's just happens to be one that I love. That's "Slow Dancing in a Burning Room" by John Mayer, and it's a great fun little bit to improvise over. But we could have used really anything. I could sit here. You see me use loops, and I jam over the top of those. Today we're gonna learn how to do that, because really, there was a time when I couldn't do that. I know that sounds crazy, right? There was a time I couldn't play guitar. everything is learned, and I say that because I really want to encourage you to understand that there's nothing that I'm doing here that's special. It's something that anybody can do if you take the time to practice, if you know the little bits and pieces and you put them together, and you can do this, okay? So that's what these live broadcasts are all about. We focus in on a specific subject. I teach for about 40 minutes. I take your questions, and then voila, you're off to the races. And I've created a PDF for you, right? So you can dig in even further to the stuff we're talking about, and then I can point you to some videos online that will allow you to dig into this stuff further, because no one's going to get it with just one take, right? We're understanding some basic concepts here, then we're drilling down, okay? So we've got Instagram Live today, we've got Facebook and YouTube Live. So folks on Instagram, if you want to have your questions answered, please head over to Facebook and YouTube. At about the 40-minute mark is usually when I cease the lesson and we start going into Q&A. So if you want to get your questions answered there, that's where to do it. On Instagram, I can't answer those questions there. Also, Facebook and YouTube, I have a PDF for you. If you look in the description of the video, you're going to see that. How important is that PDF, Eric? I have PDFs. What's special about this one? Well, it's special because it's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. And all of the tools that I'm talking about that you're going to need are in that PDF. It's free. You might as well just get it. And this one's a long one. Okay, meaning there's lots of great tools for you. There's 22 pages in this one, okay? So, and in fact, this is what we're going to do right now. While you're going to get this, okay, while you're going to get this PDF right now, I'm going to be showing this to you, okay? Hey, Chris, can you move our little, yeah, thank you, sir. So, basically what I want to do is I want to give you a 30,000-foot view of this PDF so that you know why it is that I put these things in here. A lot of times when I create these PDFs, right, or I should say when Mike creates these PDFs for me, and I say put this and this and that in there, a lot of that stuff is, you're going to see some things that you've seen before, okay? But I'm putting that in there because if you don't know those things and you have not downloaded a PDF from me before, then those are essential pieces that are going to build these ideas up, okay? So you'll see that in a lot of PDFs, for instance, that I'm putting together. Okay, so this is how to improvise with tracks and loops. So today we're going to be talking about tracks, and specifically it's going to be more of like the theory that will carry through to the loop section as well. But the loop section is a little bit more, we've got to understand the mechanics of how a loop works, okay? More about that later. But right now, and over the course of today and tomorrow, so we're going to do part 1 today, part 2 tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take the scale, how to find the key, how to know what scale to use over that, etc., etc. Okay. Always on page 1, you can have access to the $1 access to everything, and then of course the free series. You're going to hear me mention that free series a lot during this broadcast because a lot of folks are wanting their questions answered, which I love. But there's a reason why I created that free course for you, is because I can't flippantly get you to where you want to get to so if you ask a question, I can give you a very short answer, right, for the sake of the broadcast, but I really want you to have the answer so that you can go, oh man, this is what he's talking about. And then you can move forward with your plan and say, yeah, no joke, this stuff really works. Okay, so that's what that free course is about. If you do nothing at all, I would rather you watch that free series than watch this series right now. Okay, that means that much to your playing and to me that you would watch that, because it means a lot to me, because it's going to get you up to par with where you need to be, okay? So check that out. Dadgone it, don't. Oh, man, now I got to download that thing again. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. But here's where to do it. Let me show you. Here we are on Facebook. I'm going to click that little guy right there, okay? So here we are. If I click on a link here, all hell breaks loose. Okay, so you got those two access there. $1 access gets you into the whole enchilada. And you'll hear me talk about this stuff throughout, because there's a reason that I have 1,000-something videos, is because it's for folks that really are truly wanting to get to the bottom of things on the guitar. Jump around on YouTube, lots of free stuff on there indeed. And for those that don't have money, it's a great place to learn, right? But if you've got more less time and you need to drill down, that's what the Unstoppable Guitar System's for, okay? All right, diatonic harmony, we're not gonna go over all this stuff. I want you to look at this stuff later. Diatonic harmony is basically the theory of the major scale and how it applies to music. And it's really important that you have a basic idea of this stuff. It's not scary. Just do it, I promise. It's like starting at the beginning, and if you take your time and do it and not be insistent that you know everything right in the beginning, then you're gonna be fine, okay? You're getting way more information than I ever got as a guitar player, okay? And in the right order. So it's good stuff, okay? The major scale, read over this, okay? We're gonna get straight to some stuff because I'm not gonna, if we go over every little bit here, then it's gonna take a while. Know this basic form right here. It's what we call major form 1. Out of the major scales, that's all you need to know. Basically today I'm gonna be showing you major scale, pentatonic scale, and blues scale, but more than just showing you the scale, I mean, I'm gonna go over that very quickly and you've got it in your PDF, but more importantly than that, I'm gonna be talking to you about how to be listening and how to decipher what scale you should use and what key you should be in and how you might approach phrasing and sounding intelligent when you're improvising, okay? First off, for those of you that don't know what improvising is, essentially it's when we create things on the fly, okay? So when a comedian does improv, technically what they're doing is they're making stuff up as they're going along. Someone's in the audience, they got a funny nose, or they're wearing a funny shirt or something, they make jokes about it, right? That's what improv is. Like it or hate it, that's what improv is. Or maybe they've got props and they're doing stuff with props. Robin Williams was a master at this, right? Well, same thing with musicians. We can improvise, meaning we can make stuff up on the fly. Now, for some, they think, really, they're just literally making stuff up. Their just fingers are flying and they have no idea where they're going. They're just lost in this zone of not knowing what they're doing. They're just creating. Not true at all, okay? I know it seems that way, but it is not true at all. Anybody who ever tried to improvise like that, I don't care if you're the best player in the world, it's not going to come out like you want it to come out. You've got to know the key. You've got to know things, some basic things like the tonal center, what the chord progression's doing, the scale that you're using, that sort of thing. But why would you know that unless you're inside the head of Stevie Ray Vaughan or all these great guitar players as they're improvising? You're not going to know that. But I'm here to tell you that that's true, okay? And those are the things that we're going to be breaking apart today, okay? So you got that major scale. It's really important that you understand the major scale linearly too, going up and down the fretboard, and that basically the idea of the major scale is whole step. I won't go into it. You'll see it at the beginning of the PDF here. But understanding, basically, you want to have the ability to form this scale, and I've got the formula in this PDF for you. You want to be able to form this scale very easily anywhere you want. Okay, very important. And then I go into these different forms. You don't have to know these. There's supplemental information for you. So when you drill down, my rule of thumb is learn one form of each one of these scales. Learn form 1 of the major scale. Learn form 1 of the blues scale. You're set, okay? The pentatonic scale is the blues scale minus the blue note. I go into more detail about that in other videos, but if you just learn 2 scales, it would be the major scale and the blues scale, or the major scale and the pentatonic scale, and then add the blue note when you want to make it bluesy. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So you've got all these different forms. It's really the same 7 notes played over and over again, but they're there for you should you want them, okay? And then here's the whole neck. Some people will look at this and they'll say, oh dear God, I can never do that. Okay, don't say that, number 1. And number 2, no one does this. That's like looking at a map of the world and going, go. You'd be like, oh, there's no way I could go to all those places. Yeah, of course. Of course you can't go to all those places, right? You can only go to one place at a time. That's what this is. So don't get overwhelmed. There's no guitar player that does all of this at once. Doesn't happen. It's a map. Okay, the power of the pentatonic scale, read about that, because essentially there's a scale called the pentatonic scale. Penta is 5. It's a 5-note scale. It can be used in any genre, in any key, major, minor, doesn't matter. It's a simple scale to use. Form 1 is used universally so much by guitar players that it literally is the way most players start their solos off. This Form 1 right here, minor pentatonic Form 1. Learn that one if you don't learn anything else today, okay? And you've got different forms you can see here. going up the fretboard, form 3, form 4, form 5, and then you can see I put them all together. You can see how they're mapped out. Again, do not get overwhelmed. This is steps. If I said to you when you were a kindergartner, okay, you know, son, you're going to have to do 16 years of school, including college, right? You're going to have to do 16, 17 years of school, including kindergarten, okay? So get ready. It's really overwhelming. If I said that to you as a kindergartner, you'd just curl up in a corner and cry, right? But the good thing is you only have to worry about kindergarten that year, right? And in fact, you really only need to worry about it that day because you can only live that day and really that moment, okay? Sounds really heady and philosophical, and it kind of is because that's the way we should be living life. It's just one moment at a time. But if you learn to play guitar this way, you're always going to be happy. You're always going to be feeling that forward momentum. You're always going to be able to see behind you where you've come from, and you're always going to be able to see forward you where you want to go, but you're going to be content in this situation. Because guess what? This goalpost of how good you want to get continues to move, okay? So you're never going to arrive at, I'm finally the best guitar player I've always wanted to be, because your satisfaction of what you want to be will continue to move. So you better darn well get happy at where you're at today. Otherwise, in 50 years from now, playing 10 hours a day, you're still not going to be where you want to be, and you're going to be upset. Okay? Music's meant to soothe the soul, amongst many other things. It's meant to soothe the soul. It's a meditation, that sort of thing. So, so get used to where you're at and be okay with it and moving forward. Okay? I've got the minor blues scale here. Show you where this blue note is. That's the note that makes it bluesy, okay? So for instance, if we have a pentatonic scale, what I was using just now over slow dancing, right? And we did a lot of bluesy stuff in there, right? Those are all bluesy bits there, right? Straight out of the blues scale, especially like. So the blues scale is taking the pentatonic scale, adding the blue note. Here's the pentatonic scale. Here's the blues scale. You hear that note in there? It sounds real nice when you bend into it. Okay, that's what makes the difference between a pentatonic and a blues scale, which the blues scale adds that extra note, making it a hexatonic scale. Not that you need to know that, just think hexagon, 6 sides, right? Okay, so after you do that, you're understanding this stuff. This is going to take some time to digest, and the cool thing about it is it's kind of like I've given you this toolbox for specifically for learning how to improvise, okay? And so anytime you want to increase your knowledge, you're going to reach into this toolbox, which is this PDF and this video set that I'm giving you right now, and you're going to be able to dig in whenever you want to become more pro. Just keep digging into that box, okay? And the cool thing is you don't have to get overwhelmed. You just start with one little thing and you go, hey, that's working. Now I'm bored of that. Let's add another thing. And then eventually you're Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know? So this using minimalism to master the blues. I have a video on YouTube called the Minimalistic Blues. I've got a whole system inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System that you can check out for $1 today. But essentially what it does is it says this. It says, okay, there's all these notes. I'm scared, Eric. I'm scared. It's okay. Don't be scared. You know why? Because again, this is a map of the U.S., okay? So we're not going everywhere. We're just going to Anchorage, Alaska, let's say. We're going to go on a cruise or something. And so we just have this one little area here called Anchorage, you know, and we're going to check that out, okay? There's no need in us checking out Cocoa Beach and Seattle and everything else. We're not there. Why would we be concerned with those places? So when you're playing guitar, even though, yes, in your mind's eye, if you've practiced these scales a lot, you're going to essentially see where the different parts of the neck are that you can go. But even the best guitar players are only thinking about that moment, that one little moment that they're in, that one little space. Why would you think of anything else? That's tapping your CPU. and it's taken away power that you could be using for being in the very moment that you're in. So what minimalistic blues is, it's my take on just minimalism on the guitar, okay? So you're not going to probably see anything else like this on the web, or at least by that name. It's just something, it's the way that I think about playing. And when you learn the blues, it makes it a lot easier to play these other styles, in my opinion. But you could relate this to any genre, it doesn't matter. So essentially what it says is, there are notes that duplicate. So this 1, 4, 5, and you got the blue note right there, and then you got the same 1, 4, 5, just an octave up, and the blue note right there. You got the same 1, 4, 5 with that blue note right there. These are essentially the same notes, right? If I just did this right here, by the way, this is in the key of, what key is this in, Eric? It's in the key of A. So if I played this bit right here, that's the 1, 4, 5. I'm going to show you that here. There's the 1, 4, 5. Okay, and then here's the 1, 4, 5 again. And here's the 1, 1, 4, 5 again. That's essentially what we just did right there. So you see, the first 1, 4, 5 that I did is this one right there. And then I went to this one, which is the second octave. 1, 4, 5. And then I went up here, 1, 4, 5. Now, why is that important? Because essentially, if I wanted to play a lick like this, or if I went, it's all the same notes, they're just different octaves. So what happens is you get really familiar with this section, then when you're in this section, it's the same exact thing, or so close to it that you may just need to tweak one little note or something. But literally, you can see that at least the 1, 4, 5 is consistent each time. So if I was playing that lick, I could do the same exact thing on each one of these strings, okay? And so now all of a sudden, you're like, well, that's the same thing. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm telling you. It's that easy. So that's why you get good at just playing in one position, okay? So for instance, let's just for an example here, well, let's keep going, and we're going to come back to this in a minute. And then the blues lick primer is basically just some licks that you can look at here where you can actually play them, you know, add them. That's lick 1, and then here's lick 2. And you can learn, okay, these are phrases that are coming from different solos. You may even recognize some of them. I ripped some of them from Zeppelin, some of them from Stevie Ray. I mean, just all the classics, okay? So you're going to understand how phrasing works and how to add that to your playing, right? So we're going to come back to that minimalistic blues here in just a minute, because honestly, we're going to be using it for today and tomorrow, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're playing over a loop or you're playing over a jam track. Essentially, we're going to be doing the same thing, but we kind of need to learn how to use a looper, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. We'll probably need to get the other camera set up in here. It's been down for a while, but we'll get that set up. Okay, so let's go back. So let's talk about for a moment here. You know, we said that improvisation is the idea of making something up as we go along, right? So even though we're making stuff up, we do have some rules. Let's think about this for a minute. If we go to an art class and they give you they give you a canvas, right? And they give you some paints, and they say, okay, I want you to go create something. Go home and create something. You're probably not going to come back with, I know I'm just being weird here, but you're not going to come back with some mixed media and tar and feathers and weird stuff on your canvas. They gave you canvas, they gave you paints. So that means that we're probably going to be working with that canvas, probably going to be working with paints. We've got some parameters, okay, essentially. Well, music is the same way. We've got things like the key, we've got things like the tempo, the feel of the song, if it's bluesy, if it's rock, if it's pop, those sorts of things. And all of those bits and pieces determine how you're going to improvise. So even though essentially we're making stuff up as we're going along, there are still some rules and borders that we need to stick into if we want to sound intelligent. You can just play whatever you want, you know, but chances are you're probably not going to be happy with that. You're going to want some sort of parameters so that you sound intelligent. Similarly, if we're talking about a particular something, we'll probably be talking about the same subject, because if I'm talking about cars and you're talking about sharks, that's going to be weird. It's going to be an awkward conversation. We need to both be talking about cars or guitars or whatever. Okay, so essentially that is going to be the key that we're in. Just like a song has a title, and then if it's a small world, and they're talking about it's a small world, the lyrics are going to support what the title is. In the same way, we have a tonal center, also known as the key, and all the other notes are going to reflect what the key is. You don't have to know why, just understand that there's one note that all the other notes dance around, and a lot of the phrases come back to that note. Typically, the song will start with that note, will end with that note, the chord will be centered around that note, that sort of thing. So we need to know, number one, we need to know what the tonal center is, okay? We'll talk about that in just a moment here. We also need to know what tools to use, so like what scale we might use, and we'll talk about that. We need to know how to phrase, okay? So we'll drill down with that a little bit, and yeah, those are the basic bits and pieces. Okay, so first let's talk about key, because key is the most important thing. If you don't know what the tonal center is, you could have 1,000 scales at your disposal, but you won't know how to fit that scale into what it is you're trying to do, okay? So again, essentially, if I'm starting a conversation, I'm talking about cars, and you know something about cars, you can think about your knowing something about cars as that specific scale that we're talking about. So then you can intelligently join in on the conversation, and we can have a discussion. That's how music works, right? We've got several people playing at once, and they're discussing something, essentially. And if one person's discussing something totally different, it's going to sound like it, and the rest of the band's going to look at them and be like, what the heck's going on, right? So we need to know what the tonal center is, and here are some things that you could think about to find the tonal center. Number one, if there's something that indicates it. So we've got like 600 jam tracks inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System for our members to perform with. Sometimes they're visual jams where you see the actual chord progression. You actually see the chord when it's coming up, and then you can play on top of that and exploit that specific chord. And then other ones are literally just jam tracks that you're listening to, you're playing along. Any of that stuff you can check out for $1 that's in the second link inside of the PDF there, okay? So, and for those, like I'll title it, I'll say A minor blues, feel of Stevie Ray Vaughan's Mary Had a Little Lamb, you know, or feel of Thrill Is Gone, G minor blues. And so you would know to use G minor blues for that, and it's gonna have that feel of The Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King. So little things like that would be great information to have in order for you, number one, to determine what the key is. If you don't know what the key is, then you're gonna have to use either your ear or some sort of bit of music theory, okay? This is why I emphasize music theory a lot. Some people say, they go, well, that's gonna mess up my creativity. No, it's not. It's gonna get you to play like a real musician, okay? I should say a real musician. There are a smattering, and I mean a smattering, of guitar players in the world that say they don't know music theory. But here's the deal. They really do know music theory. They just don't know it the way you and I do, maybe with labels and that sort of thing. We were talking about Adrian Belew the other day, who says he wouldn't know a major scale if it hit him in the head, or a pentatonic scale if it hit him in the head. And essentially, he does know it. He just may not know it by name or be able to label these things, okay? I don't think that that's impressive. I think Adrian Belew is a great guitar player, but that doesn't impress me that he and I would not be able to discuss music. If I'm like, dude, it's the blues scale, B minor, and he doesn't know what I'm talking about, well, that's just going to take longer to get the point across and to get where we need to get to, okay? So knowing music theory is only going to help you. Having your ear to tell you what the key is also very helpful. So for instance, that slow dancing in a burning room starts off... And that, can you hear that phrase? It ends. It ends. It's complete. It's a complete sentence from beginning to end. So is this part. You know. And that rests very nicely. You think about like the period at the end of a sentence. Well, guess what? That's the key we're in. Now, in this particular song, John Mayer kind of plays around with the tonal center, but they're relative, major and minor, okay? I talk more about that in other videos, so don't get overwhelmed by that. But essentially, for every major key, you have a minor key. And basically, they share the same sets of notes, okay? It's kind of like if you woke up one morning and you were really happy, and then you got sad later on in the day, and then you got happy again. It's like you're going to have different emotions happening, but it's the same you, okay? And essentially, we can do this with music. We can kind of bend the melody or the chord progression a little bit to make it a little bit sadder or to make it a little bit happier. And that's what John Mayer does very well in this song. So in essence, it's in the key of E major, or we could also say it's in the key of C sharp minor, okay? Either way, it's the same key, okay? And I show you that in the PDF, okay? So the first chord of a song is almost always the key of the song, okay? If you don't know how to find that, I've got videos for you. That's not like something I can just flippantly say and you're going to get it from one little sentence. It's something I'd have to sit here and show you. We'd have to have 2 days to do it, okay? So I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but you're going to have to research some of this stuff a little bit, and I've got all those videos for you, okay? A lot of them are free on YouTube, but the big stuff, of course, the step-by-step stuff is inside of UGS. Okay, so we got to know what that tonal center is. The first chord of the song is usually that, okay? So if we're starting off like... Okay, so that first chord in Tracy Chapman's "Give Me One Reason" is that the title? Give me one reason. I think so. Give me one good reason, something like that. But it goes like this. So that chord there is the key of the song. So essentially, it's going to be in the key of F sharp, some sort of F sharp, either F sharp major, F sharp minor. In this case here, it's kind of a bluesy bit. So you could use F sharp major blues, F sharp minor blues, F sharp major pentatonic, F sharp minor pentatonic. Any of those will work. Blues, you can go back and forth between the major and minor very easily, whereas other genres you typically cannot. Okay, so just caveat. In blues, you can go back and forth between major and minor fairly easily, and I talk about that inside the PDF, but with other genres, it's usually one or the other, okay? All right, so also the last chord of the song will oftentimes tell you what the key is. So if it doesn't say it in the title, check for the first chord, check for the last chord. So when you're listening to a song and it's going... that's how that song ends. It ends on an E. And that's a good indication of what the key is. So now, boom, that's the number one thing you need is the key. So now you got the tonal center, so we know it's an E. So what you could do, if you just wanted to be bare bones about this, if you're like, Eric, this is going over my head, slow down, here's the deal. Find the key. You got to have the tonal center, and I've shown you many ways to do that now. Then once you know what the tonal center is, try using either the minor pentatonic form 1, you have it in your PDF, minor pentatonic form 1 or major pentatonic form 1, and just kind of noodling over the top of it will tell you what key you're in. So for instance, let's take this from the top. So I'm listening to this tune by John Mayer, and I want to find out what the key is, okay? So, and I hear that last bit there. I'm saying, okay, John Mayer, I know what key you're in. You're in E something. Okay, so we know we're in E something. So what you could do is if you don't know what the major or minor is, if you don't know if it's major or minor, you know it's E something, well then you could take a pentatonic scale, form 1. It's the easiest scale to play and the most used scale. And you can say, okay, well then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of play the notes over the chord progression and see which one sounds better. So I'm saying it's an E. So first I'm going to try E minor. Okay, here we go. To me, right off the bat, does not sound right. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to move that form. Now I'm going to show you this really quickly, but I do show you, I show this inside of that PDF. So here's form 1. And what the relative major and minor rule says as far as the pentatonic scale is we play the same exact form that we just did. Nothing changes about it, except we move it down. But the form stays the exact same. So here you are. I've got my first finger here. I'm going to put my pinky right there. And I can play that same form. And I could come back to the tonal center just because it refreshes the mind. So now let's do this. Now I'm going to take the same chord progression, play it, and see if I noodle over this, see if that sounds better. We know it's E something, and E major or E minor just now didn't sound right. Let's try E major. If it makes me want to riff like that, I know it's in the right key. So I know right away that that is the key that I want to be in, right? So similarly for you, find the first chord, the last chord is really helpful. Or another thing that you can do is you can just listen to the bass notes, and if you know anything about the number system like I teach, you can easily find out what key you're in by literally just playing the chords or the notes and going, okay, like for instance, in the key of C, there's no sharps or flats, so of all the notes that you're hearing, there's no sharps or flats, chances are it's going to be in the key of C or A minor, because both of those keys share the same set of notes. Every minor key has a relative major, every major key has a related minor. It just means they share the same set of notes. But like two people that are talking about a specific subject, whether it's legalization of marijuana or non-legalization of marijuana, or President Trump or not President Trump, or whatever controversial thing you want to talk about, two people talking about the same thing does not mean they agree. So major, minor, have the same set of notes, they're talking about the same sets of things, but they're saying things in different ways, okay? Cool? All right, so with all that being said, now we know what the tonal center is, and then we need to know what tools we might use. So in this case here, remember, you can almost always use the pentatonic scale safely, and it's going to sound good, regardless of genre. There's a little bit of play in that, meaning like if you're playing classical, playing the pentatonic scale is going to sound really boring, but you could use it for blues, you can use it for jazz, country, rock, pop, all the live long day. No one's going to get offended. They're going to be like, that sounds good. Blues scale, you can use that too, and rock, and you can use it for all those same genres, but it'll lend itself to being a little bit more bluesy, okay, especially if you're bending notes, pull-offs, hammer-ons, just like we just did. It's going to lend itself more towards blues. So again, now what we're doing is we're bringing out a different screwdriver for a different type of screw, okay? You got that toolbox there. It's got different types of hammers and screwdrivers in it. Those are different scales and that sort of thing. We would call on those things for different purposes. So we got the tonal center, and now we need to know what scale to use. So pentatonic is a great choice. Major, if you wanted to do more notes that were Well, let's listen to it for a minute. So, for instance, if I did something like, if we know that this is in the key of E major, then I could use the E major scale, but it's probably not going to sound like your ear's accustomed to hearing this song or this style of playing. So, but let's do it just for kicks and giggles. Here's E major, just the E major scale. So I'm using a little bit different phrasing even, but and then the scale looks a little bit different. So it depends on what tool you want to pull out of the toolbox to noodle with, okay? So now let's talk about, now you've got some basic tools. Even though you have those tools, just like a child, a 3-year-old who's sitting there trying to manipulate a hammer or a screwdriver, it's going to be kind of messy at first. So if you're new to improvisation, if you just came out of the gate playing riffs and sounding great, then call the media and have them come directly to your house, because it's never happened in all of history has anybody just started riffing and being a great player. I don't care. You name the player. It's never happened in the history of ever. Not Clapton, not Slash, not Eddie Van Halen, not Andy Summers, not John Mayer, not Jimi Hendrix. I don't care. You can think about them as lofty as you want to think about them, but guess what? They all started exactly where you started. Okay? Sometimes with worse conditions. They didn't have the same teachers and the same resources that you have. So there's zero excuse, other than maybe time or just desire, that you cannot be the ultimate player that you want to be, even better than those players. Okay? There are musicians today that are much younger, that are arguably better than some of those greats from back in the time. Okay? So I know some people are insulted by that because, oh dear God, what could that even be possible? But it's possible. Trust me. It's real quick. Just get on YouTube and start searching for these prodigies who just started at an early age and practiced a whole bunch and were standing on the shoulders of giants. They were practicing Hendrix at an early age, whereas Hendrix wasn't practicing Hendrix at an early age. He was practicing more basic stuff because that's what was around. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so now we know the tools that we can use here. So let me tell you that out of the gate, when you're learning how to improvise, it's gonna be awkward. It's not gonna sound very good at first. Here's what it might sound like, okay? I'm gonna give you an example. So you say, okay, I know the key, Eric showed me that, and now I'm gonna improvise. I'm gonna make stuff up just as I'm going along, just as Eric said, and here I go. And this is what it's gonna sound like, probably something like this. It's not going to be Stevie Ray Vaughan, right? It's not going to be that out of the gate. Why? Well, would you expect a 2-year-old to just start reciting the Gettysburg Address, or do you think that they may say things like potty and mama and daddy and those sorts of things, right? That's the way it works. And we're learning a new language. So there's no reason that some amazing licks are going to come out of your finger. I'd love to tell you that, but I'd be lying to you. And any guitar teacher that tells you that would be lying to you, because it just doesn't work that way. You have to develop a voice when it comes to guitar, and that comes through trial and error. A lot of experts will say you need to learn what notes not to play in order to determine what notes to play. What does that mean? That means you're playing along and you make a mistake. You hit the wrong note, or you hit a note that doesn't sound as good as another note you could have picked. Well, what happens is you will typically take a mental inventory of that without even thinking so. It's just like if you eat food that makes you feel bad, chances are you're not going to eat that again. Okay, just mentally you keep a note of it. So the same way when you're improvising, you're going to hit notes that don't sound as well, and because of that, the more you do it, the the better off you're going to be, and you're going to be able to navigate more intelligently. Another thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to speak in phrases. So unlike I was doing just now, where I'm just kind of playing through the scale, which is very common because it's what we know. We're like, well, I know the scale. I'm going to use as much of that as possible. That's like if you are a carpenter and you've got your new hammer and you're like, I'm going to hammer stuff because that's what the hammer does. And you just start smacking stuff all over the deck instead of going, okay, this nail needs to go right here. Boom, boom, boom. Kind of boring, but as a child, you want to start smacking things with a hammer, right? You ever seen a little boy with a hammer? I have. My kid is upstairs right now smacking things with a hammer. So who's watching him anyhow? Oh, my wife is. He's fine. But nonetheless, that's what you want to do. You have a new thing. You want to do this with it. So catch yourself when you're learning how to improvise to just slow it down and try to say something intelligently. Try to take a nail and knock it in. Just pop, pop, pop very accurately. So when it comes to the scale here, you're going to be doing things like phrasing, like this. Same scale, but now I'm going to say things like I would talk, right? Okay, now I've played this song a few times, so I'm just not like making this stuff up. I kind of know where the melody is and stuff. And this is part of improvisation. So at the end of the song, I improved, but the most part I stuck to the melody of the song. And then there was some place around the second verse I kind of took off and played a couple little improv pieces. But nonetheless, you've got patterns that appear here, and you're going to want to speak intelligently in phrases, and that only comes through time. But if you just think that in your head, I need to speak intelligently in phrases, I need to pause, just like I would if I were speaking. I need to use inflection, just like I would if I were speaking. Sometimes I'm going to want to play really fast and really get excited about my playing, and I want it to come across. And then other times, I'm going to want to get real slow and real sultry and just really show the feel and present that feel in what I'm doing. So it's just like speaking. It's no different, except with speaking, we're doing it for many, many hours a day, so we're really good at it, whereas in guitar, we have to practice it, okay? So now, here's what I want you to do next. Now, we're going to get to Q&A here in just a minute. I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm going to go to YouTube, okay? Here's what I want you to do next. Number one, go over that PDF. Very, very important that you do so. On YouTube, you could search YourGuitarSage Blues. If you're not inside the Unstoppable course, if you're in the Unstoppable course, here's the things to look up. Look up Minimalistic Blues. Look up Call and Response. Check out the 600 jam tracks that we got there. Check out the visual jams. All this stuff you can search in the upper left-hand corner of UGS, right? Just search for the things I'm telling you about, and you'll find them right away. And blues licks. I got tons of blues licks in there. Each one of these things is a new tool in your tool belt that you can pull out when you are improvising. For those of you that are not in UGS, or you're like, hell no, I'm never going to pay $1 to get in the entire course, then you can be on YouTube and you can search for, you're not going to have the same content, obviously, but you could search Minimalistic Blues, Call and Response, those sorts of things, or YourGuitarSage Call and Response, YourGuitarSage Minimalistic Blues. You're going to find out exactly what I'm talking about here, and I can help you out with that. And then after that, let's say you're like, I don't know, I'm not going to do away with $1, that guy seems shifty. Then you can always try this stuff out, the 1,000 free videos or so that I have on YouTube, and then if you like that stuff, you want to drill down further, you can try out UGS. Okay? All right, excellent. We're going to get to some questions here in a minute, and so this is using jam tracks. Then tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, chord progression a little bit. We're going to show you how to phrase using, or show you how to use a looper pedal, and get the idea of doing that to where you can make up your own jam tracks right on the spot and loop over them, play over them. Okay? All right, excellent. Let's get to some questions. I'm very excited about this, my friends. For folks that are on Instagram, hi. We're on Facebook and YouTube. If you want your questions answered, that's where I want you to go, because I can't read the screen from here, okay? So I'll get to questions that we have here in Facebook first, if you don't mind, and then we'll get to questions in YouTube. Okay, so here we go. Please make sure that you're using a question mark as well, friends, because I'm just literally scanning through these really quickly, because that's the way we got to do it, right? You don't want me to sit there and read every comment, do you? So it'd be really a good idea if you put a question mark. Otherwise, I'm just not even going to recognize it as a question. Okay, All right. What time tomorrow? Same time tomorrow. Really, we're doing these live broadcasts. We're trying to do them all at 11 a.m. to get you guys to understand that's when we're doing it. Obviously, we live on a globe, except for flat earthers. We live on a globe, and so there's different time zones, and everybody's like, "Can you do it at this time?" Well, then Joe's going to be upset, and if I do it at that time, then Nancy's going to be upset. So we're doing it at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and I'm not being ugly. I'm just like, we got to pick a time, and someone's not going to like that time. No questions at all on Facebook, okay? At least I didn't see any question marks. So now I'm headed back over to YouTube, and I'm going to scan this really quickly to see if we have any questions there, okay? By the way, for those of you that haven't, make sure that you download the PDF that I have inside the description of the video. And also, please, friends, share this if you would like a chance to win a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System. We do this at every live broadcast now. So literally at every live broadcast, we're giving away at least $400 worth of goodies away. Pretty cool. Today, tomorrow, every single week we do this. So we do that 8 times. Last month we did it 9 times in a month. So we gave away $3,600 worth of lessons for free. Pretty cool, right? And at the live broadcast that's coming up, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, which I'll be deep diving into finger picking, I'll be giving this beautiful Strat away. This is a 60s model road-worn Fender Stratocaster. It's a 2008, but it's built after the 60s model. It's road-worn, which means they kind of make it look like it's been on the road. I've got a joke on Facebook about that. It's got the greenish pick guard, and it's a beautiful guitar. It plays wonderfully, and it has Tex-Mex pickups in it, just like Stevie Ray. So, pretty cool. So some winner's going to win that, along with a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System. But I think we're giving away somewhere in the area of 11 of those on that day. So the chances of you winning, pretty darn high. And then we're giving other things away as well. Okay, so join us for that. YourGuitarSage.com/live if you want to know more about that. But you can mark it on your calendar right now. It's for not this Saturday, but next Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Cool? Okay. Central Daylight Time, yeah, you could call it that too. Central Standard Time, Central Daylight Time, CDT. I think that's the same. Pretty sure. How do I overcome a phobia of playing in front of people? That's a great question, Mark. So there's a few things that I tell myself because I tend to be a little bit up in my head. I think certain personalities are. I know that because here living in the land of artists, we have friends that are the artists that you've heard of, and it's nothing for them to just get on stage and just like they're just sitting in front of you playing, jamming. There's no insecurities at all. Whereas people like me, there's a little bit more insecurities going live, playing live, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, there's some mental things that we can do. One thing I always think of is, what's the worst that's going to happen? If I mess up, is anybody going to die? No. Will the world keep spinning? Yeah. Is anybody going to care? No. Is anything going to break? Probably not. It's not brain surgery, so I'm not going to, hurt anybody's brain. I may hit a wrong note, probably hit a wrong note just now. I know I did, I'm sure, in that improvisation bit. So I think to tell yourself that over and over again, Mark, is very, very, very helpful. For me, and I'm not condoning this, but for me personally, this is what I do, is I like to have one beer before I step on stage, and I usually don't eat before I go on stage because I want that beer to hit right away. And that for me, one beer, one shot for me just kind of mellows me out enough to where I'm chill. But for those of you that aren't of drinking age or you just don't agree with that or whatever, otherwise I don't drink at all. I don't like alcohol whatsoever. It's utilitarian for me. Utilitarian? I don't know. I use it as a tool for just calming down right before stage. Otherwise I don't drink. I don't like drinking. I don't like the way it tastes, this, that, and the other thing. Is there a way to determine how long the phrase is? Christopher's saying. Christopher, the phrase is as long as you want it to be, but usually it ends with the tonic, and it usually is holding out that note. So, if you have this is a phrase right here. So that's a phrase, right? But then this other phrase answers it. So one might say that both of those together is the phrase. I would look at it as two phrases. One of them has a comma and one of them has a period. That's how I look at that. So it's like, comma, period. That's how I look at that. You know, it's kind of like, it's like saying, hey man, do you think you'd want to do this? Because I really want to do this. Essentially, I'm just making that up. But like that, along those lines of vocally, you know, you're saying, the question goes up at the end. Do you want to do this? Or no, we're doing this. You know, like the difference between those two things is huge, right? So that's how I determine what a phrase is. Carlos is saying, what's a good amp under 250? There's a lot of them. The Boss Katana 50 is a great amp for the price. It's about $220, something like that. Another great one is the Line 6 Spider 5, I think it is. Yeah. Those are great little amps right there. Since you are having two builders build your guitar, will you demo both versions to us before deciding on one? Jacob is saying. Here's the deal, Jacob. The reason that I'm doing that is because I want to see who is going to blow me away when it comes to the guitars. So there's going to be a definitive winner unless they're both the same, and then I'll probably go with the guy that can build it, that can be more reliable and those sorts of things. So no, there's going to be a better guitar, and I'm going to present that guitar to you. You don't want the one that's not as good, do you? But either way, I'll probably be demoing them as I get them. So yeah, that's a great question. Okay, are you going to do a live stream on how to improvise over chord changes? Thank you for the content. You're so welcome, Andrea. Andrea, that's what this is essentially, is how to improvise over chord progressions, whether it's a jam track or it's a looper pedal. So you're in the right place. How do you make transitions between keys during a solo? How do you jump from minor to major blues? Oki is saying. So you could do this by literally just moving the scale as I talk about inside of that PDF. So that's how you would do that. Essentially, you are changing the key by changing where you play that scale. So if you're playing, you know, something in G major blues, so I could use, or I could use major, you know, it just depends on where I'm playing the scale. So in that case, I just moved it down. I talk about that in detail inside the PDF that you've got, that you can click on the description of the video. That will drill down more for you. And then, you know, essentially you just go back and forth, or like for instance, if I'm playing there's a few different ways to think about this, and I really drill down in detail inside of UGS, but for instance, if I'm playing A7, D7, E7, most people will play the A minor blues over that, which I mentioned. Blues will allow you to play major and minor a lot of times, and it sounds fine. But this is a major chord progression. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll be in that minor feel, but then I might, when it gets to the A major, I might throw in that major note to make it sound major. So you can do that as well, okay? Okay, and then as far as changing keys, you don't really want to change keys within a solo unless the chord progression is changing keys. The only caveat to that is if you're playing on top of the chord, much like a jazz player would play. So if I'm playing A7, I might use the blues, A blues over it. And then when it goes to the D7, then I would switch to the D blues scale. And then when it goes to the E, I might switch to the E blues scale. You can do that. It's totally permissible. And that's one way that you can kind of change keys, if you will. But it's also going to sound a little bit more disjunct by doing that, you know? Okay. I'm an individual. This is my business account for my store. Can I still win the guitar or UGS? Yes, you can. Indeed. If you share this broadcast, we're going to be giving a lifetime membership to UGS away. But Route 32 on the live broadcast on the 29th, it's a registration. So it's literally just email and your first name, and that's how you register for it. And then, yeah, there you go. There's a link right there. But that's a different bit, okay? But yes, you definitely can win that, whether you're a business or otherwise. Can you do a tutorial on John Mayer's Slow Dancing in a Burning Room? I saw you did this with the chords. Can you do one with the picking and improvisation of the melody? Mary Beth, let's talk about it a little bit since we're here right now, okay? So I may do a tutorial for it, but essentially, we're in the key of like C sharp minor / E major. So I'm playing a lot of, the verse is very minor sounding, in my opinion. I'm using very minor sounding tones and resolutions and stuff. Sometimes I resolve to that E, but the rest of it sounds very C sharp minor blues. So, the jam track that I've got for that, you can just search on YouTube, just search Slow Dancing in a Burning Room jam backing track, and you'll find one. A really good one is the one where John has his mouth open and he's playing. That's the better of the two. So look for that one. But really, Mary Beth, since you're in UGS, right, you want to use a lot of the call and response bits, the licks that I give you inside of this PDF. And Mary Beth, you've got a ton more of them inside of UGS. Use call and response, use the minimalistic blues that I talk about, all of that. Very important that you understand that. So I had mentioned that, in minimalistic blues, you only take a very small portion of the program, right? A small portion of the neck and play. And so let's talk about that for a minute, because if I'm doing that, I can literally take this section of the neck and watch. I'm literally going to just sit on these 4 frets, okay? Now I'll do some bending and stuff, which is going to allow me to get other notes, but I'm only going to play 4 frets. I'll do some bending. Okay, so why am I doing that? To show you that you can talk very intelligently on the guitar without having a bunch of notes. It's just more about what you're saying. Kind of like, they say out of the mouths of babes, right? A child can say something very, very intelligent, and he doesn't have to have a huge vocabulary. I know guitar players that have huge vocabularies. They know everything there is to know about guitar, and they still sound like crap. I went to school with a guy like this. I won't name his name in case he's watching, but he was terrible, and his tone was terrible, and he played terribly, and he knew all this jazz stuff, and it just drove me nuts, because I'm like, somebody like that who has all that knowledge, he was very good at theory, should know how to play, but alas, he didn't. And then I've met people who didn't know hardly any theory. They knew those patterns like we talked about earlier, and they were great players because they were using their ear a lot. So I'm just using this very small portion of the neck, minimalistic blues. On YouTube, search minimalistic blues. You'll find this one I'm talking about, but you can take a very small portion of the neck and sound intelligent. So after a while, you're going to get tired of those notes because I'm only using the same 4 frets, right? But for the most part, you can see you can really wear out one little area of the neck and get a lot of juice out of it. Something I highly suggest you start. If you do one thing, listen to me. This is very, 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 very important. How important? Pretty important. If you want to walk away today playing improvisation, especially blues, but really anything, get one jam track. Okay, I've got them on YouTube. Just search Your Guitar Sage Jam or Your Guitar Sage Call and Response or Your Guitar Sage Minimalistic Blues, or if you're in UGS, you've got 600 of them. But take one of those. It's going to tell you what the key is. Okay, you're going to know what key it is in. And then I want you to take one small portion of either Form 1 or Form 2 of the pentatonic scale or the blues scale. You've got them in that PDF. I'm giving it to you today. Just take a small portion of it, especially the minimalistic blues part. You'll see it highlighted in red. Just take that one section and sit with the jam track for like half hour. And just sit with that one little section on the neck. Don't go anywhere else. Stay with that one section. It has everything to do with that one little section. Get good at that one little section, and you will be surprised at how that gravitates all over to the rest of the guitar. But you've got to sound intelligent in one little area first before you can, I mean, there's no need in handing a dictionary and a thesaurus to a 3-year-old. That's not going to make them talk better. Okay? It's not going to make them speak better. They're just going to have more words that they don't know what the heck to do with. It's the same with you. More scales ain't going to help you. Getting more complicated is not going to help you. You want to get simple. Get simple. Okay, that will help you a ton. So do that. Okay. Got to get back to some questions here. I got off on a tangent there. Okay, and I know I missed some questions, and I apologize. I apologize for that. Okay, is the best way to build phrases just practicing against a backing track? Yep, you got it. Just what I'm talking about here. Is it a good idea to memorize the scales by using the different combos all over the fretboard before actually learning to play them? Lucas, I'd say not. Back in the day, I'd say yeah, because it's good to know all those different forms. But realistically, again, I just answered that with the thesaurus and the 3-year-old. It's not going to make them speak more intelligently. They're not going to know what to do with all those words. Like you won't know what to do with all those scales and notes. You just won't. For those that have massive egos out there who are like, well, I'm going to show you. Okay, then do that. But make sure you've got a video. Otherwise, comments don't count about how good you are. It's really important to get very simple with a few notes and get really good at that and then move on from there, okay? Somebody's saying floating wrist or planted. It does not matter. It matters what's comfortable for you. There's not an advantage over one over the other if it doesn't work for you. Planted, you've got more control, but there's a ton of great guitar players that float their wrist, meaning it's above the fretboard like this, as opposed to it being planted. It's floating, okay? Should I learn acoustic songs with chords first or electric with picking and famous riffs first? Do what you like. Some of you are like, God, his comments are so generic, etc., etc. Yes, they are. Do you know why? Because I'm telling you the truth. Anybody that says, well, you should learn chords first or you should learn famous riffs first, that's their opinion. But if they express it loud enough and with enough authority, you're going to think that that's definitely the way to do it. And then when someone like me comes along and says, do honestly what makes you comfortable and what makes you play the guitar more, you're going to think, well, he's kind of flaky about that. But honestly, that's the truth. Okay? I can speak with a lot of authority and say, no, play famous riffs first. Are you stupid? But that wouldn't be true. And I don't want to lead you down a bad path. So you want to play whatever's keeping you playing the guitar. You'll gravitate to all those other areas, okay? John, the amp that I'm using right now is a Kemper profiling amp. But I'm going to be plugging in my Blues Junior today and messing with that some more too, because it's been a while since I've been just using the profiler, and I really love it. It's amazing. The tones are amazing, but I'm gonna strike up the old Blues Junior today and start messing with that again. I like both for different reasons. Yes, Hessel says yes. Okay. This video will be available later, RT, indeed. Okay. How do I enter this month's giveaway? Much love. Thank you, Carlos. YourGuitarSage.com/live. Okay. Now, we don't have, basically you can sign up for that. We'll let you know when it's coming out. When the actual sign up for that specific one's coming out. If you sign up right now, then you're going to be on the general list for live broadcasts, which is helpful because then we'll tell you about these this one coming up. But as soon as you start seeing posts from me going up, which we're working on those right now, then you'll know to actually sign up for that specific giveaway, okay? Okay, I just got your guitar mastery book, and I'm still unsure of how to perform the dexterity exercise number 3 using sweep picking. Can you demonstrate, please? Yes, subskip. Let's do this. So there's an exercise in there that's specifically for getting you to drop your thumb down the back of the neck, because that's the proper way that's going to give you the stretch that you need, so you don't think that your fingers or your hands are too small anymore. It has nothing to do with the size of your hand. Okay, unless you have teeny tiny, literally looking like doll hands, like Kristen Wiig on SNL, unless you have that, do not tell me about your small hands, because they're not small. You're talking yourself out of playing guitar. It's an excuse. Okay, you can get mad at me, but it's not my job to pat fannies. My job here is to get you to play guitar. Okay, so if you're bailing out right now, then you probably weren't meant for guitar anyhow, and I hate to say that, but if you're that sensitive, then yeah, you're probably not cut out for guitar, because guitar takes practice, okay? But taking your thumb and dropping it down the back of the neck so that your hands can get out front allows you to stretch. Watch this. Watch when I bring my thumb up front. I'm not going to do anything with my fingers here intentionally, but let's say I can stretch that far. Let's see, that far with my thumb on the back of the neck, okay? If I bring up my thumb, naturally what's going to happen is my fingers are going to want to come in. It's just I can't physically stretch these. My first finger, I can't physically stretch it anymore. I can't get it to this fret unless I drop my thumb. Now all of a sudden, look at that magic. Okay, and that happens because of the thumb creeping up behind the back of the neck. Same thing with the pinky. The hands go in like that. So when you have your thumb behind the back of the neck like that, it's going to help you play a lot better. So exercise 3 that's inside of Guitar Mastery Simplified, the book that's on Amazon. It's in the Unstoppable Guitar System, the one that you can get into for $1 today. This one goes like this. It goes... It sounds very dissonant, but it allows you to, you drop one finger, and then you drop the second finger, third finger, fourth finger. And this is specifically meant just to get you to drop your thumb behind the back of the neck and get you to strengthen that thumb, get you to strengthen that hand, get you to play on your fingertips, get you to stretch your fingers out. It does like a bunch of stuff, like a half a dozen things right off the top of my head, okay? That's great. That's exercise number 3, okay? Can I demonstrate high E one-string improvisation, Mark is saying. Sure, Mark. So, in the same way, this is like taking one area of the neck, like I mentioned. So you must have seen another guitar teacher talk about this, and that's great, improvising on one string, but realistically, we're not going to do that too much. But I can understand the theory as to why that would be good, because it's isolating you. It's getting you to do one thing, okay? But if... And so that's fine. I understand that philosophy. That's all good. But realistically, what's going to be more important is actually taking a portion of the neck where you would do this in a real world scenario. Because most real world scenarios, you're not going to be playing linearly across one string. But you would take one little section of the neck like this. And that's essentially what we would be doing, the same bit there, okay? So... let's do this. So if I have slow dancing going on here, and let me improvise this. That's what you're going to do, is you're just taking those dots that you have, that I've included in your PDF there, and you're just working on that. You're just wearing that out over and over and over again. Cool? All right, great questions. Great questions today, man. How do you incorporate 2 strings at a time into your solos? Oki is saying. Oki, see the minimalistic blues little pattern that I have there. You have to memorize that little pattern, which is super easy. It's like 4 frets. And then you just do that. You just say, these are the notes that I can use, only use these notes, and go to town. It's kind of like giving a piece of clay to someone, and they say, well, how do I make a circle? How do I make a ball? And you're like, well, a ball looks like this. And you could show them, you roll it on the table and that sort of thing. But eventually, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to get your fingers in that clay and start experimenting, right? The quicker you can do this, okay? I'm not saying there's not a need for guitar teachers, especially, in fact, I find that the better of a player you are and the more self-sufficient you are, the better your guitar teacher is going to be for you. If you're one of those people that's like, I just don't know, I'm not cut out for this, a guitar teacher, you're just going to be a waste of money to you because they're constantly going to be dragging you to play the guitar. Dear God, man, play the guitar, get your freaking fingers on the guitar neck. And ultimately, the more you do that, the more self-sufficient you are, the better you're going to be about doing that. So I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying, like, in general here. So what you want to do is you want to take those 2 frets, or those 4 frets, those 2 strings, and you want to start wearing it out over a jam track. But Eric, I don't know what to play. I know, because you keep talking instead of playing. Okay? Not you specifically. I'm saying you keep saying, well, I don't know what to play. Stop saying that, and during that time when you're saying, I don't know what to play something. Play the wrong thing, because if you play the wrong thing, the next time you're going to be like, well, that was wrong. How about this? Oh, hey, well, that sounded good. The more you do that, the more you'll be playing the right stuff. Okay? There is no player on planet Earth who played the right stuff first. They played all the wrong stuff first and then started playing the right stuff. Okay? Good questions today, and that's actually a really good one, Oki. Thank you. Are the magnetic pickups that are placed in the sound hole of acoustic guitar any good? Do they give good sound generally? They're okay, Rehan. They're okay. Some of them are real good. It just depends on the model. There's lots of different models. When you're improvising, are you typically improvising in the scale of the key of the song? Yes. Essentially, just moving between the different positions of the same scale? Yes, Mike. Essentially, that's what's going on. And if it looks like I'm not doing that and I'm just making stuff up on the fly, it's because you don't see what's going on in my head, nor Stevie Ray Vaughan or any other player that knows what they're doing. That's what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, just like if you were to see behind the scenes of a set of a movie, you're gonna be like, oh man, look at that. That wall's fake, or whatever. Well, yeah, because that's how you do it. So, in the same way, if you were to take a guitar and tune it all differently and give it to Stevie Ray Vaughan or any great guitar player, they may have to sit with it a minute and they may be able to figure it out fairly quickly, but they're going to need some time to figure it out because there are patterns that they're working on. Again, someone who says they don't know music theory, they're working on some sort of patterns. They're not just randomly grabbing notes. At the piano makes a little bit more sense that you might be able to do that, but the guitar, no. And still with the piano, you would have to have some patterns, okay? Great questions. Where's the PDF? Which link? Richard, in the description of the video. So we probably lost Instagram. We usually do that after about an hour or so they're definitely gone. But if not, if you're on Facebook and on YouTube, in the description of the video, you're going to see that link. Okay, I'm heading over to Facebook again, making sure there's no questions there. I'm looking for anything with a question mark. Okay. Michael's saying, is it normal to overshoot my fretting target the first 500 tries or so? Am I missing something here? Nope, you're not missing anything. It's just repetition. I've been playing for many moons, but lead guitar always overwhelmed me. I am attacking it now, about time, but I tend to get frustrated because it takes a lot of practice for me to hit the slide targets. Am I the only one? Michael, chances are, whenever I hear somebody say that they're frustrated, it means you're biting off too much. You're trying to do something. So if you're sliding something from a large section as opposed to sliding little notes and stuff like that. If you're not doing, if you're doing more than that, then chances are, yeah, you're probably going to fall off the mark because you're not keeping things controlled, okay? So it's not you. It's not just you. It's everybody, really, truly, It's just repetition. If I can tell you, can walk away with any one thing today, folks, it's this. There is nothing that you cannot do if you practice it. And 100% of the time, whatever issue you're having can be remedied with practice, okay? And when it comes down to like calisthenics or technique, that sort of thing, it's like I can teach you music theory. I can also teach you technique and how I break things down. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you practicing those bits and pieces, okay? So I can get you there quicker, but bottom line, I'm not going to get you there any quicker if you're not practicing this stuff. The practicing is really, truly where it's at, okay? Jude is saying, I once saw someone say, if I improvise, I need to play the notes of the chord being played, arpeggiate. I just want to ask, what should be the balance if a song is going to go through C chord? What would be a good balance of the C chord versus non-C chord notes, but within the scale? So Jude's talking about what we call like chasing the chord or playing on top of the chord, which is very prevalent in jazz. Like that's an extreme version of it. But guitar players do this all the time in other genres as well. And basically being cognizant of what chord's being played and then pulling some of those notes out is a great thing to do because it makes it really sound like you know what you're doing. So for instance, in Comfortably Numb, that first solo, that's a D and an A major. And David Gilmour goes, that first lick, right, is the D major chord. And the chord is played, and he's like, okay. Now those other little notes, a couple of them fell on the D as well, but he was also taking some of the blues scale and noodling with that. And then when the chord resolves to an A, that's an A major chord. So he literally just played the chord both times. He played a D major and an A major, and he threw some other notes in. What might be too much is if he did this, if he went... Like if you just really just over accentuated that chord, then you'd be like, all right, I get it. You know the chord that we're playing over. But that's not what he did. He just kind of, used it as a spice. So there's no specific way to say, well, should it be 20% or 50% or 10%? It's a spice. So sometimes you want stuff really hot, and then other times you want just a little bit. So think about it like a spice. And chances are you're doing less than what you should do. And you'll know when you're doing too much is when it sounds too safe. Okay, so if it sounds too safe, you're probably using too much of the chordal notes, and you should probably stretch out into the rest of the scale more. Okay, that's a great question. Who asked that one? That was Jude. Great question, man. Okay, good. You guys are using question marks. I really like that. I appreciate that. Those are the ones that I see. I don't see the ones that don't. Which notes in the scale should not probably... Which notes in the scale should we probably not bend? Like probably not the root note, right? Which others should we avoid as well? Micah, any note can be bent because essentially the listener doesn't care what you're doing with the note, how you're playing it, whether you're bending it, sliding it, hammering it, pulling it off, fretting it, doesn't matter as long as they're hearing the pitch. So, if I'm playing, let's see. That's bending the tonic right there. So you can bend any note. The thing is that you probably want to bend notes that are not on your first finger, just because it's easier to use the third and fourth finger to bend notes. And that's my only rule. And it's not really a rule, it's just convenient. And but any note can be bent. But what you do want to understand is that you're bending notes you're bending the pitch into other notes that are within the scale. You're not just bending randomly, right? So like this note, I'm bending that note, right? Well, it's like I'm sliding up, and that note's within the scale. So that note's in the scale there. So whatever note you do bend to, you're bending to something within the scale. Cool? Cool. What grade gauge strings do you use on the electric? Right now I'm using 10 through 46. But that's just me, you know. Use what's good for you. Will you ever make a UGS app? Well, Dan, here's the great thing, is that we just completely rebuilt the website so that it works seamlessly in mobile. So that's your app, my friend. Am I going to, make it to where it's a little icon on your iPhone or Droid? No, probably not. There's no need for it because if you are a UGS member, you just save that link and on your. In fact, I find that a lot of my students are actually using mobile. So, and it works great on there. I mean, it really is just, it works whether you're using a pad or a phone, it works great. So we basically have done that. It works great on mobile. How do you break this cycle of playing the same licks? Chad, this is going to sound really flippant, but it's not meant to be. It's just the truth. Don't play those same licks anymore. Leave space. This is a lot like meditation. People are like, I can't meditate. I think too much. Yeah, that's why you need to meditate. That's the whole point. The whole point is not to say this. I don't want to go off on meditation, but nonetheless, people say, "Oh, I can't do it. I think too much." That's the whole point because your mind's running away with you. You need to be able to slow your mind down, and the same thing is true if you're playing the same thing all the time. Don't play that thing. Leave space because that space will be very uncomfortable, and then you'll magically things will start coming up. Okay, but Chris, learn some solos from other people. If you're in UGS, I've got that whole licks section that you can check out, or if you have the blues ebook that you can get from YourGuitarSage.com. Learning other people's solos and learning how to improvise, those are the things that are going to keep you from doing the same stuff all the time. But if you just tell yourself, do not play those same darn licks, don't do it, then you're going to be good because you will have to play something else, Okay, great questions. Okay, heading over to, we're going to go for another, well, we'll go for a few minutes yet. I'm heading back over to YouTube. Okay, so, okay, good. Oh, thanks for posting that link to the PDF, whoever did that. You'd play a pentatonic scale in different forms up and down the neck to show linear ability, but how would that relate to playing different scales up and down the neck? Let me read that again because I don't understand it. Lucas on YouTube is saying, you'd play a pentatonic scale in different forms up and down the neck to show linear ability. Cool. How would that relate to playing different scales up and down the neck? It really wouldn't relate, Lucas. It's like you could play, a pentatonic scale is different from a blues scale, is different from a major scale. So it doesn't relate in regards to, like, essentially all music relates. The pentatonic scale is 5 notes out of the diatonic or the 7-note scale, or the major scale, if you will. And the blues scale is the pentatonic scale plus the blue note. So in that way, all those scales are related to some degree, but like in regards to playing them together, I don't think that way. I'm either thinking pentatonic, if I'm just practicing my scales, and I'm thinking blues, and then I'm thinking major or whatever. But when I'm improvising, what I will do sometimes is I'll be playing, and then maybe I'm doing a lot of pentatonic stuff, and then I'm like, I'm gonna throw some blues stuff in there. So I make sure I throw that blue note in there, like literally on the fly. I'm like, let's try some blues licks, and then here come the blues licks, and then I'm like, okay, I'm kind of wearing out the blues a little bit, or I'm wearing out that form. Let's go to a different form and see what I can get out of that. So it's literally like just changing it up in real time. Or if I'm like, man, that's great, I love the blues, but I really want it to sound a little bit more diatonic. Let's throw in some other notes in there out of the major scale. Then that's what I'll do, just like literally right on the fly. Great question. Okay, Nuke's Loop Core Deluxe Looper Pedal. Is it any good? Rahan, I don't know anything about that one, my friend. Hadn't tried it. Oki is saying, I've heard folks solo up and down the neck and keep the melody within the solo. How do they do that? Great question, Oki. Let's talk about it. So let's do this. Let's go back to this PDF here. All right, check this out. So we talked about the minimalistic blues, right? So if someone's playing the same licks, right, different portions of the neck, and I'll show you how we do this here in just a moment, it's going to be a lot of it's going to be taken from this idea. Okay, here we go. So this 1, 4, 5 is the 1, 4, and 5 out of the major scale. So if I play the major scale in the key of A and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, then here's my 1, skipping over 2 and 3, and I play my 4, and here's my 5. So 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5. So I could play this lick. I could go, and then I could come here and play in this section of the neck. So I played this lower one just now. I could come over here, or I could play this guy right up here, right? Or any one of these 1, 4, 5s, like all over this neck. I could do this, right? Or this portion right here. Okay, so really the way the guitar works is if I'm playing an E here, high E, it's not just a high E being played. That's a high E. This is 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 a high E. So we're playing it all over the neck. So that means if I play this lick that goes, let's see, I could go, make sense? If I had a fret there, I could do that. So essentially what we're doing is we're playing the same exact notes, but they replicate themselves all over the neck. Make sense? Yeah. And I have a video for this that it's called No One Scale Know Them All, and it basically takes that idea and it says, hey, you can do this all over the neck. Here's how to do it. Great. Are the root note and tonic note the same thing? Yes. Yeah, usually when we talk about tonic, we're talking about the key of a song, and root, we're usually talking about the root of a chord, but I use them synonymously. That could be wrong. I should probably look that up one day, but a root is typically a chord, and a tonic is usually the tonal center of a song. Can you do AM with a backing track for an example? Like A minor, is that what you're saying? A minor? Yeah, so let's do this. Let's see. Let me find a backing track here. So those of you that are inside of UGS, you know that we've got tons of these backing tracks, right? Like a ton of them. So let's do this. Let's go to so literally that's where I'm at right now, is I'm inside of that section, inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System. And friends, if you want, if you're licking your chops to get into this, you can literally do this for $1 today. You get 30 days, unlimited access to every video that I've done inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. Nearly 1,000 videos and nearly 600 jam tracks. So here we go. So this will be, let me pick something in A minor, okay? So here you go. So I'm just going to be playing A minor pentatonic, A minor blues in this, okay? Let's get a little closer here. Okay, so that's A minor blues, and really the way I'm thinking there is I'm just thinking pentatonic and blues scale over A minor, and I have my form 1 there that I noodled with a little bit, and then I messed around a little bit in form 2, and really wherever I was at was how I was thinking. Okay, so if I was in form 1, I wasn't thinking about form 2 until I slid into form 2. Then all of a sudden now I'm like, okay, I'm in form 2. What kind of fun things can I pull out of here? All right, great. BB King style, and some of what I just did there was BB King style. I've got a video coming out on that too as well. BB King, the BB box, what people call the BB box. Oh, Nancy, I asked to be added to the Facebook group on the support link. How long does that take? Nancy, we do not add people to the Facebook group via the support link. Do you know why? Because here's why. We send out an email saying, hey, here's how to get on the Facebook group. And that's the way you have to do it, because we've got a lot of people trying to get into the Unstoppable Guitar System Facebook group, and that wouldn't be very fair if we allowed everybody in there, folks that haven't paid for that program, right? So that's an exclusive group, and most of the people that are asking to sign up for that are not part of UGS. So Nancy, please go through the email route. If you need help with that, if that email got spammed, or if you threw it away, or it's down the list and you need another one sent out, go to support@YourGuitarSage.com. Give them your name and your email address and just say, hey, I'm in the course, would like to be added to the Facebook group. Okay, thank you so much, Nancy. That's a great question. Oh, Karen, thank you. Take the Leap, buy the UGS course. You will love it. Yeah, anybody, here's the deal. Anybody who's in UGS, if you like being in there, please let folks know, because they only know this guy who's here, and they don't know what I think the Unstoppable Guitar System is great. I mean, there's a reason why I've spent a good part of my life developing these concepts and then finally putting it into this super course. So there's a reason for that. But why believe me when you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth from folks that are in this already, okay? Would you play some double stops in that A minor improv that you were doing? Yeah, so let's talk about double stops for a minute. So essentially what double stops are when we play 2 notes at a time. So for instance, you've heard, Chuck Berry. A lot of people do double stops. Double stops is when we play 2 notes at a time. So if we were using that track and we kind of exploited some double stops, which is something that I'll do sometimes. I'll say, hey, I've played enough single notes now. Let's throw some double stops in there. Let's try a different position on the neck and stuff, just to keep things lively, right? So. It's just a matter of kind of like exploiting those double stops. I have a whole section inside of UGS that's all about double stops. I have them all mapped out and showing you how to, do them in, I believe diatonically, major and minor, and then also blues-wise. If you're wondering why I don't know what's in my own course, it's because I have like 1,000 videos in there, and there's a lot of stuff in there, right? So That's why we offer the 30-day access, so you can get in there and check it out and go, oh my God, there's so much stuff in here. All right? All right, good questions. Okay, so we got the double stops there. Oh, thank you. So what's the story, Jay Grifter? What's the story with this beautiful Strat? This Strat is going away. I'm giving it away on September the 29th. So you guys know, or maybe you don't know, if this is the first time you've seen one of these live broadcasts, we literally give away thousands and thousands of dollars worth of goodies every single month away. In fact, this will probably be the first month that we break 10,000, that we give away $10,000 worth of goodies. At this live broadcast on the 29th, we'll be giving away over $6,000 worth of goodies, and the rest of the month we give around almost up to $4,000 worth of goodies on broadcasts like this. So, but one thing that we do is we typically give away a guitar once a month, and on the 29th I'll be giving this beautiful guitar away. I just bought this from Gruen Guitars, which if you know George Gruen, he basically wrote the Bible on vintage guitars. And this is a 60s style 2008 Fender Stratocaster Road Worn Edition with Tex-Mex pickups in it. And it plays and sings like a champ, okay? So a beautiful guitar, and I love the Tex-Mex pickups in it. They sound fantastic. So that's the story, and the story is it's going away on the 29th. All right. Oh, yay, Mary Beth learned so much from UGS. Thank you. And we got other folks in here. You see Byron, Michael, Jacob. Thanks so much for speaking up there, my friends. It helps folks to know that there really are real people in there doing that, you know. I'm in UGS and 365, both so great. I signed up, much improved my playing since joining. Mary Beth. Eric, what about sixth double stops? Okay, so Dave, it's a great question. Let's talk about it. So sixth. So a lot of times people will, these are kind of known as, what will we say? They're known as ambient friendly. You'll hear people say that they're ambient friendly, meaning for ambient music they sound really nice. But honestly, they sound nice anywhere. But this will give you an example. So, like ninths would be if we were to play up. Let's say we're on a D here, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be a sixth. Or if we were, say at this A, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be A major. Okay, so if this is an A note, we play the major scale. This is why knowing the major scale is so important, my friends. You hear me say it all the time. This is an example why. So someone says, I want to play sixth intervals all the way across the fretboard. Then you can play your major scale and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's a sixth. So I'm playing, I've got my second finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string, and I have my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 2nd string, and I play those two notes together. And so that's a major version. This is a minor version. So with some nice ambient music or an ambient patch here, we can kind of do some fun stuff like. some fun like that. I like sixths. I think they sound great. I don't think of them as sixths. I think of them as something differently. I think of them as playing the 5 of the chord and the 3 of the chord, but upside down. I probably just confused a lot of people, but that's just the way I think about it. Because, like, for instance, if we were playing an E minor chord, you know, if I was playing this E minor bar chord, essentially it would be playing the 3rd and 2nd finger. If I played the D major chord, this is with a 5th string root, by the way, then I would just play the 4th string and the 2nd string, and the same thing with the C chord. I play the B major chord, I just play those 2 notes. So together we got but it's a 6th because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th note of the scale. Make sense? All right, cool. All right, great question. So what's up with 6s? What's the question? Double stops. Andrew likes turtles. I thought your guitar is vintage. Dong. I have another Strat that is actually a 65, which this is modeled after. That's why we thought it would be a great model to give away, because this looks almost identical to mine, right? Have you seen mine? It's like, so I saw this come up at Gruen, and I'm like, I gotta have that. I can give that one away, and the kids will love that. And so, yeah, like I literally, if I blink, I'm like, it looks exactly like my guitar, and it feels very much like it. This one has Tex-Mex pickups in it, so a newer pickup. They're a little bit more. They've got a little bit more juice to them than the ones that I currently have in mine. But so yeah, 2 different guitars. This one's going away on the 29th. Sounds a lot like Gilmore. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Ah, Dave, light bulb moment. Excellent. Love it. Yeah. So Eric Larson saying, just completed the practice program. Amazing. UGS is coming up next. I think. Finally feel like I'm learning guitar. Yay, Eric. Thank you so much. I love to hear that. Every morning I have the best morning. I wake up, well, with my kid, my wife, all that good stuff. But then I look at my phone and I see all these comments coming through on UGS and all these light bulb moments. And it really is a beautiful thing. And we've got an amazing community inside of UGS. So for those folks that are like, man, what is this UGS you keep talking about? Okay, let me, in a nutshell, make it really short, really simple. I've got 1,000 free videos on YouTube, and where I teach songs and that sort of thing. UGS is really about learning how to play guitar aside from the songs. We can learn. I got the songs all day long on YouTube, but UGS, Unstoppable Guitar System, is all about starting on day one. Never played guitar before. Where do you start? That's where you start. The first 30 lessons, which I provide in my free course, that's in the second or the first, one of the first links inside the PDF that you can download today. That's the first 30 lessons. You can just have that for free. I developed that for folks because I got so many questions like this and inside my programs that, or inside the videos on YouTube, that I was like, let me create something that everybody could just go to and rock out on right immediately. But for those that really want the whole enchilada and want a lifetime of learning, that's what the Unstoppable Guitar System is. It's constantly growing, 1,000 videos, along with 365 practice program. There's literally like 1,000 posts in there, all organized step by step, breakout menus, 600 jam tracks. We got the community in there. I'm answering questions every single day, many times a day actually. So, and you've got folks talking about it in here. So if you want to really check out the big enchilada, you can do that for $1 today. You get 30 days unlimited access. If you don't like it, get out before the 30th day and no questions asked. You're not charged anything, just that $1. Okay. What else? If you don't have $1 and you want to still learn guitar, start with the free lessons. YourGuitarSage.com/30. Do something. Move forward. Do something, and do something different. Not the same thing all the time. If you're getting the same results, what do you got to do? You got to do something different. If you do the same stuff all the time, you're going to get the same results, right? I have to tell myself this when I'm working out. Would you show us connecting all 5 positions? Yes, I will, Jeff. It's probably not going to be too impressive though, because honestly, you won't know what's going on inside my head, but I'll try to tell you as I'm going along here. Okay, so I'm going to start off in the first position, maybe work backwards and then work forwards. Okay, and I'll tell you as I'm playing. So I just had a video released. It's like start with these 3 blues positions, because to me they're the ones that I'm using 90% of the time, and they're the ones I can get the most out of. And I'll tell you why that is here as we're playing. So this is A minor blues. I'll be starting with position form 1 here. So let me get a different patch here. That's not going to work for this. We can't have that ambient stuff happening. Here we go. Position form 1. So here's position 5. Position 4. So now I'm just kind of thinking about moving up. And I just slid into position 2. Position 3. Position 4. And then I'm back up to position 5 again. And position 1. So, you know, it's like I've got those other positions, but honestly, I don't go to them very often. If I'm really getting bored, then I'll go to those and see what I can extrapolate out. But a lot of times I find that they're in those positions that I mentioned in that video. Those are the good ones, right? Those are the ones that are really have all the sauce in them. All right. Paulo, hello to Brazil. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that, my friend. Hey, man, love these lessons. Quick question. I use a really thin plec with my electric guitar. Is there a thickness you would recommend, or is it what feels comfortable? Chris, it really is what feels comfortable, but I would implore you, or I would suggest to you to maybe start thinking about a thicker pick when you're playing electric guitar. Just like a surgeon is going to be very close up on his subject when he's working, or she's working, right? She's not going to be leaning over with the hands just like kind of dangling over a heart or a brain. It's going to be planted. There's going to be an anchor, right? We can think about the same thing with anchoring our hand, but the whole point there is that there's less play, right? You got this whole arm that could be jittery or what have you, whereas opposed to if you plant the hand, now you have less variable that could be messed up, okay? That could wiggle or shake or anything else. So the same thing is true with a pick. When we have a thicker pick, it's not going to move as much, and it's going to take a little getting used to, but it's going to be a more precise instrument. So when we're playing single notes, or a more precise tool, when we're playing single notes, that's what we need. Is we need a more precise tool. I suggest a thinner pick when we're doing, you know, big strumming and that sort of thing. When we're hitting a lot of strings, not being as intricate, but we still need to hit lots of strings and have a nice big sound. Okay. All right. Do I know any Finnish bands? I don't know if I would know if they're Finnish or not. So I probably do know some Finnish bands, but I don't know, is Mew Finnish? MEW? I love those guys. I know they're from somewhere in Europe, but I'm not too sure why, Would you show us, connecting all 5 positions? We did that, right? Okay, cool. Can you please do something about the chat window when you do the giveaways? Even when there is room to get in one, can't get into it. I don't know what you mean by that. Can you please do... Climber, we have, are you talking about on our days where we have 500 in the chat room? Could you imagine if I allowed 1,000 to be in that chat room? It would be bonkers, because it's bonkers the way it is right now, Climber. And there's a reason that we do that, is to reward those that showed up early, number one. And number two, that's a lot of people to have in a chat room. We don't have nearly 500 in here right now, okay? So, and I'm just barely able to get to the questions. So with that being said, I probably won't do that. We're just gonna keep 500 because it's kind of crazy the way it is right now. But I appreciate you asking. It's just, you gotta get there early, or wait till, you know how I'll say it like 700 times during the broadcast, hey, more people dropped out, get in there. So that's the time to get in there. And there's a lot of times like that during the program where there's space in there. So you just have to listen when I say get in there, get in there. Okay, could you show us the use of a diminished chord in profession? Okay, so the diminished chord is used a lot of times to walk down or up from one chord to another. So in the case of going from like a major 1 to a 2 minor, it's a real common chord progression, which is major 1, minor 2, in this case a minor 2-7, and a 5-7, or I should say a dominant 7, 5 dominant 7. So, but if I wanted to walk from this chord to the minor, I would go, here's our diminished chord. Okay. I have a little project that you guys might have seen on YouTube called Kirby and the Roaches. It's Kerby, Kerby and the Roaches. We also have stuff that's on Spotify, but we've got some songs on YouTube. And there is a song that I wrote there with my wife called What a Mess. And it goes something like this. It goes... That's a diminished chord right there. G major, C major, E major, G sharp diminished. So A minor, G major, C major, E major, G sharp diminished. So that's another place that you could use that, is, leading up to, you're kind of squeaking into a chord. You're moving up into something. A lot of times it's used, in that case here we got G sharp diminished into that A minor, okay? So it's used a lot for just kind of like squeaking into something. Okay, so let me see. I might get to one more question here. Let's see, there is only one more question. So that's it as far as the questions. And then we're going to continue tomorrow, okay? So really quickly, before I answer the last question, make sure that you share this for your chance to win a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System. We do this at every live broadcast now. So that's one thing you can do. Make sure that you download the PDF. It's in the description of the video, right? Go to YourGuitarSage.com/live if you want to sign up for live events. We've got one coming up on the 29th. The actual registration for that part is not set up yet. We're working on that right now diligently. So wait for that. Or you can get in there now and just go to YourGuitarSage.com/live. If you're going to do anything, make sure you do the free course at least, YourGuitarSage.com/30. If you've done that already, or you're like, I'm biting the bullet, This guy, I think, knows what he's talking about. I want 1,000 videos and I want 600 jam tracks. I want to try it out for $1. Then the link for both of those are in the description, or not in the description, but they're in the PDF that you have. Okay, in the description of the video. So the last question here is, does UGS include the other courses? If not, what content will grow inside UGS and what content will be in other courses? John, UGS is our flagship product, so it's everything. So I do have a course called the Complete Guitar System that's on udemy.com. For those of you that don't know what udemy.com is, it's basically like YouTube on steroids with paid content. Why would I want to pay anything? Well, for the same reason that you could find a guitar in a dump, or you could buy a brand new Les Paul. Which one might you think is better? Logic will tell you that the one they get paid for is better. It's called supply and demand. If you don't know about it, research it. It's really important to understand the worth of something. So that is what UGS is all about. The Complete Guitar System is available on Udemy. In fact, we have, I think with all those courses all together there, we've had like 150,000 people go through that program. It's in 200 countries. It's been translated in like a bunch of different languages, like maybe 5 different languages. And it's the #1 guitar course on udemy.com, which is awesome. That's like being the #1 course or the #1 on YouTube. So we're very proud of that. We're very thankful for that. And we've got a great audience there. And that's great. Not poo-pooing that at all. It's loaded with a wealth of information. It's just not the same information that is in UGS. Some of the videos are the same, but UGS is our flagship product. It keeps growing. Again, I just created a course called 365. Actually, we created it about 3 years ago, and it's taken that long to come out, and we have it in that system now. And for those folks that were in UGS, they got grandfathered in and got that whole entire course. Otherwise, it was an $80 product if you're just buying it on your own. So it just goes to show you that being in UGS, you're constantly getting new videos. Constantly, I'm putting up a minimum of an hour of new material every single month. Realistically, at the end of the year, it's a lot more. Well, this year, it'll be something like not 12 hours of new material. It'll probably be in the area of 24, 36 hours of new material because of all the new content that I'm constantly putting up, not including jam tracks. So UGS is the way to go. It's like the everything, and it will always be that because I want to have one place that people could go that they can get all that knowledge. So if you have UGS and you've got my YouTube channel, you can pretty much do anything that you want to do. And in fact, I just asked a question on my Facebook page inside the UGS Facebook page, what else have I not taught that you guys want me to teach? And half the things that people said, I want you to teach on this, half of those things I already had in the program. The other half of the things were like, okay, sure, I could teach on that. Some of them were a little bit out, and then some of them were like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll teach you how to read music. You know, I wrote a book on it. So that's what that's all about. All right. Awesome. Okay. So if you guys need anything else, you know where to find me, okay? I'm here for you. I want to help you to play guitar, so please let me know how I can help you. Thanks so much for these questions. You guys rule. If I look a little tired today, it's because I am, because we've been killing it here in the studio. But thank you so much. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, we'll do the part 2 of this, where I'll be doing, let's see, what will I be doing? I'll be teaching you similar stuff, but we will be talking about using looper pedals, okay? So how to use a looper pedal so you yourself can create your own jam tracks, and then you'll know what key you're in. You just grab the scale and you're off to the races. All right, my friends, thank you so much. Don't forget to share this. Love you guys. See you soon.